Hey, welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific, and they call me Chris of the Northwest. We're going to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're standing in line waiting to sit on Santa's lap, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
That's right. And specifically tonight, we're talking about hikes and adventures across the Pacific Northwest with author Stephen Hoy. So welcome back to the show. As always, we're glad you're here. As always, live audience, share your thoughts with us. Tell us what you want to talk about with some hikes and adventures from Stephen's awesome books. But first, of course, it's time to bring in our adventurous ape. Some say, according to Interpol, he's a real catch. And others say he's so Canadian, he doesn't give a puck about American football. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you guys call the sport that isn't soccer, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right. Well, good to be back here. Thursday nights. Love Thursday nights. Best night of the week. All right. Hanging out with my friends and hanging out with Stephen Hoy. Welcome back to the show, Stephen.
Hey, great to be back on Caching in the Northwest.
Great to have you back here. We're really looking forward to talking about the books and reminding folks about some of the things that you've written and maybe finding out some behind the scenes stories too. So we're looking forward to that. But folks, before we get into any of that good stuff with our guest, Stephen, a quick reminder that we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. A special thanks to Land Sharks, one of our corporate Denali level sponsors. Want to remind you that if you're visiting Vancouver Island, to check out the GC5Z4N2 geocaching news. Over 400 favorite points on that. And don't forget, you can still order your Land Sharks Christmas orders and get, for every $25 Canadian spent, get a free trackable. It's that time of year. It's trackable season. Yay. Check it all out at landsharkz.ca. And we would be remiss if we did not mention our other corporate Denali level sponsor, and that is Gold Country Geotourism. Visit exploregoldcountry.com. Learn more about the geotours. Learn more about the region. Don't forget to download the app. Visit them on Facebook at Explore Gold Country and at their website, as we said, exploregoldcountry.com. And folks, let me tell you, if you want to know more about supporting this here podcast, well, why don't you head on over and click that Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website.
Thank you so much. Hey, folks, if you want to jump in to tonight's chat, and we know you do, you guys join in every week, and we love it because it makes the show a conversation rather than just us talking to you. And, you know, hey, I listen to podcasts all the time where they just talk to me while I'm driving. I don't mind that sometimes, but you know, there's times where you're just yelling back at the radio and you know they can't hear you. We can hear you here, right? When you're typing, we can see what you're doing. Talk with us.
Isn't it more often you yell at the sports teams than?
Oh, that too. You don't want to know what I yell at the sports teams.
Go sports.
Yay, sports. Hey, if you want to join in tonight's conversation, use the hashtag hike. That's the hike hashtag. And we're not talking about football. That's a different kind of hike. And of course, you can use the hashtag FATAS if you want to bring up something in the after show. Before we get going tonight, Land Monkey, I want to mention that those nice, the travel bugs that you can get, or the travelers, from Land Sharks,
the tags, trackable tags.
Thank you. Those work great as ornaments or stocking stuffers, right? You can put them right on your tree.
Well, we're shamelessly promoting one of our sponsors. They also are the creator of and a retailer of the annual official geocaching trackable tree ornaments. Like there's actually really nice geocoin-like souvenirs. Well, not souvenirs, coins, but they're shaped like ornaments, and they're very pretty. And each one has a unique design
Nice.
every year. And yeah, check that out on their website too.
I love it. Now, we've got a little bit of news to cover. The new year's coming up. Hey, Merry Christmas, first of all, right? We just got past American Thanksgiving. We're jumping into Christmas. Then comes New Year. So from the Washington State Parks e-newsletter, start 2024 with an adventure. Join us January 1st for our annual first day hike events. It's an opportunity for everyone to get outside and enjoy a beautiful state park. Choose a guided hike, a snowshoe excursion, bike, or paddle adventure to enjoy on New Year's Day. The hikes will range in difficulty from paved, flat, ADA accessible trails. We would call that a 1 in geocaching difficulty, right? Or geocaching terrain. To moderate hill climbs, which I'd probably put about a 3 maybe. A few parks will host more than one hike with options tailored to different interests and abilities. Additionally, some hikes will include fun and educational talks with rangers. I did one of those last year. Loved it, right? You go on a hike with a ranger and they're talking about the different types of trees and rocks and why is this here and that's over there, and I loved it. Where you can learn about the history and natural features of the parks. All participants will receive a collectible Washington State Parks 2024 first day hike pin.
Cool.
Now, a lot of people like these collectible things, right? Trackable things, collectible things. You get a pin for this one.
Nice. And where is that again? Like any Washington State Park?
Many of the Washington State parks, yes.
Okay. Very cool. So I guess go to the website.
Exactly. So head on over to the Washington State Parks website because many of these hikes require advanced registration and group sizes may be limited. So
there you go.
You can go there, you can register, you can get it. And one more thing to note before we move on to another important topic. New Year's Day marks the first Discover Pass free day of 2024, meaning you can go on these hikes and not have a Discover Pass for parking. The only exception is if you go to a snow park, and you'll have to figure out what those are. I'm not going to go into the details.
Makes sense.
So there you go. So if you want a great hike, you can find one that fits into your style, and it won't cost you a Discover Pass to get in. You can get in free for the day.
Sweet.
And then you realize, wow, I need a Discover Pass because these parks are great and I want to go back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in other news via the geocaching blog, if you're hoping to get out and get that CITO 2023 season 2 souvenir, it's too late.
Oh.
Cash in, trash out 2023 season 2. There were 2 of them this year. Has come to an end. Now, this season, over 1,500 CITO events have taken place in more than 57 countries.
Awesome.
So they're cleaning things up on a global scale. Over 21,000 geocachers collaborated to work towards the common goal of cleaning up their communities and the world through CITO events. Geocaching.com says, without each and every one of you, this would not have been possible. So thank you.
Nice. That's awesome. Have you guys made it out to a CITO event this year?
I haven't made it to a CITO event in about 10 years.
Wow.
But,
all right.
you know,
well,
maybe someday.
Goal setting.
I hosted a CITO event last weekend.
Oh,
nice.
So, yes.
Right under the line. Nicely played, Chris.
Now I don't have to.
So,
Chris is taking care of it for us.
Stephen, you might not be familiar with what we're talking about. Do you know what the CITO events are?
No, I was going to say I could use a definition.
Okay. So it stands as
Let's
Chris
use
said,
it in a sentence and see if you can figure it out.
Yeah, cash in, trash out, CITO. And they're opportunities where geocachers get together, usually with the support of a local land management group or something, and do either like a cleanup in a park or maybe a planting in a park or something like that, but somehow give back to the community.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
So, for example, the Washington State Geocaching Association Puget Sound chapter has adopted a road in Kent. It's a stretch of road. We go there once a quarter. So, this was the last of the year. We had done 3 other CETOs at this, and we're still pulling out huge amounts of trash along this road. Each time, I think we're getting better, but I'm just amazed at how it just, the more you dig, the more you find. We brought up, I don't know, I want to say 24 large garbage bags full of, garbage, including a couch, an entire bumper and tires and, who knows what else.
So eventually you'll get a whole car.
That's what we're hoping. I tried to position that in the parts in such a way that we know what we needed next.
Do you get a special like time sensitive geocache for participating?
You get a souvenir. So a digital souvenir for participating.
You also get a cache though, as Stephen's saying.
Yeah.
Like there's it's an event. So by showing up and helping, you get a geocaching point, as it were. You get an event type cache for that. Yeah.
Cool.
And you get a warm feeling knowing that you cleaned up the grid.
Indeed.
Yeah. So you actually get a smiley, right? So you get a fine for an event. You also get a digital souvenir, and it's all good. So we work with King County. They provide a bunch of gear for us, helmets, reflective vests, road clothes or road crew signs ahead, all sorts of different things, pickers, gloves. So, and all the garbage bags. And then they come and pick it up afterwards, which is the real winner.
Yeah. And up here closer to home, Stephen, the BC Geocaching Association does a lot of events with Metro Van Parks, do the same kind of thing in their parks.
Mm-hmm. So CETO's great. Just what was a couple of years ago, they broke into 2 seasons, kind of a spring and summer, and then winter and fall.
Yeah. As Wet Coaster says, if you're lucky, the land management rep who's helping host the event will even feed you pizza or something. So there you go.
I usually bring donuts because it's a morning event.
There you go.
Nice. There you go.
Donuts and coffee. I mean, if you've got that, you can move the world.
It does wonders. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So. For about an hour, and then
oh yeah,
that's all we want from you is an hour. After that, you're on your own. You have to crawl your way back to a restaurant and get some protein.
Yeah.
Funny.
Let's see. Just to make sure I didn't misspeak, I looked. I have exactly one CETO event to my credit in 2011. So
okay,
got to get you out there, buddy.
But enough about CETOs. They're great. Get out and clean up the grid. And if you're looking for places to get out and clean up, you might consider hiking. And Stephen Hoy has written some excellent books about that. So we've done it several times already. But officially, Stephen, welcome back to the show. And for some of our listeners who maybe they aren't familiar with you or your work, can you share what community is home and what titles you've published? And tell us a little bit about yourself real quick.
Yeah, so I'm up here in Vancouver, BC, Canada, in Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh territories, and I've written 3 hiking books for southwestern BC. And so the first one is 105 hikes, and then the second one is destination hikes, and then my most recent book is best hikes and nature walks with kids in and around southwestern BC. They're all from Greystone Books, and I love hiking. And sometimes I like writing about it, and so it's been great doing these books and exploring all these trails.
Love it. I love it. Now you've authored these books. Really, what made you think you could write a book? You've done well, so there's no doubt you can. But what was the you're walking along going, more people need to know about these hikes, but how do I share that?
I think it's just my love for hiking. I always like taking notes about them and and figuring out what plants were there and learning about the trail, how I got there, and taking pictures. And so I became a journalist, and so I always got to write about hikes here and there whenever I felt like it. And so that kind of ended up leading to me wanting to write a book. Also, I grew up, reading guidebooks and amassing a collection of guidebooks and just loving the form of it. And so yeah, it eventually I wanted to do one, and luckily a publisher wanted to have a book at the same time, and we things just aligned.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, so okay, I'm gonna have to start taking notes as I'm hiking. I never thought about that. I just enjoy what I'm seeing, and I thought, well, I should be, more observant and take notes and find unique things about each trail. Now,
No, live in the moment. It's actually one of the things that I was trying to like with hiking. I was turning my phone off and trying not to do anything electronic and social media. And but then I decided to write a book, and so I'm whipping out the phone and taking notes and waypoints and all that. And it's so I like it when I get away on, like, say, a week-long backpacking trip, because I write about day hikes. So I can shut my phone off for days and then not do that. So yeah, I don't recommend taking notes. Just enjoy it.
okay. Now, you've written about hundreds of different trails of all these different hikes. With all the detail you've put in, it's not possible you've walked every trail, have you?
Oh yeah. I don't put any trails in that I haven't done. I wouldn't feel like, because I wouldn't have the experience of it. So that's the fun part. I always say like that's the fun part, and then the writing part is painful. Like I do the hikes and I take the notes, and then I leave the writing all toward deadline. Which is what I shouldn't be doing. And so yeah, it's the hiking part is great, and also just having to do the hikes and doing more than one book. It got me out doing a lot more trails that I hadn't thought of doing before, and much less repeats. And it's yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good point. That would be a real driver to just not go back to the same trail, saying, "Oh no, I need 50 more trails."
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of 50 more trails, one of your more recent books is about places to go and enjoy with kids, taking kids along. So how does that differ, let's say, from the first book, the 105 hikes?
Yeah. So the first two books are both similar parameters. These are just there's quite a range of hikes. There's hikes that are easy and short, all the way up to like really long. And so best hikes and nature walks is more, let's go on the easy side, let's go on the short side. It really was an excuse for me to write about short hikes. I do a lot of short hikes and nature walks in between the big hikes. So especially in kind of the winter and fall and that kind of thing. So yeah, I just wanted to do a book of those, and also I do have a 11-year-old, and he really likes to maybe go like a kilometer before asking to go home. So that kind of informed the book as well, because I was thinking about actually putting slightly longer and more difficult hikes in the book until I started hiking with my kid more. And so yeah, but it's a book of hikes for anyone who wants to get into hiking or get outside more. It's not really just for kids, but it does point out some kid things that kids like, like hollow trees, and if there's a nice place to splash around in the water or that kind of thing.
Well, that's one thing we were wondering, is how hiking with kids has changed the way you look at the outdoors, or changed the way you plan some things.
Yeah. So planning a hike with a kid, especially mine, is completely different. I'm definitely not set on getting to the waterfall, or I'm probably going to get halfway there. So like there's this hike on Bowen Island in the book, Killarney Lake, and usually we don't get to the lake even. We'll just get to the meadow halfway there, where there's like a beaver lodge, and and that's okay. And then also like the time, you never know how long a hike with the kid's going to take. It doesn't matter the age; they're all different, and some take really long, some take are really fast. And so it's not so much about how long it's going to be or how far you're going to go. You kind of have to just play it by ear. And but yeah, it definitely made me look at things again, because I was taking my son to, say, Lynn Valley, which is a place in North Vancouver. I've been there a lot, but then he's stopping at the ditch and taking a look at something in the ditch, or he's seeing a little spider web, like seeing everything. And so it helped me appreciate that a lot more, just to see everything again like that, the little things.
Mhm.
So yeah, hiking with kids is, and I notice things like hollow trees more, so it's actually been great. It's helped me see things again.
That's awesome. Yeah, that fresh perspective you can get through the
Mhm.
children's eyes. What a great idea.
Mm.
So the book really focuses more on taking that perspective on shorter hikes and enjoying the day, not trying to get to the summit of one of these amazing views you can get to in Vancouver, but enjoying all of the little amazing things on a shorter hike. Is that's what the sense I'm getting, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, the hikes tend to have a scenic destination to get to.
Okay.
So for people who are wanting to get somewhere, there usually is something like that. But the trails also tend to have things along the way that kids are looking for something different, right? Like I led a hike for Nature Kids Vancouver in Capilano Canyon, and the kids were not into the view or anything, but they loved the clay, like the clay layers, kind of in the exposed cut slopes, and just sticking their fingers in all that. And I like looking at that stuff, but they were just like all in it with their hands. So it's just just seeing the different things on the way.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Got another question for you, but just before we go on, Stephen, just a little technical note. We're picking up a little bit of ticking noise. I think your mic might be rubbing on the zipper there, so we'll just keep an eye on that. But otherwise, good. Just the occasional odd little noise there. Thank you. So we talked before the show. You said you've the clay layers at Capilano Canyon are very cool. Three Hams shares there with you. So there you go. What hikes or adventures do you have planned, Stephen, for 2024?
Not a lot planned for sure, but one thing that I've been looking at hiking for quite a few years with a friend is the Chilkoot Trail from Alaska into BC. So you start at Skagway and then you hike over the pass, the Coast Mountains, and then you take a historic train back. And so yeah, Chilkoot Trail is I don't know, around 4 or 5 days or so. Yeah, totally. It's a bucket list hike, a historic hike. It's the weather is frequently terrible there. And apparently, if you're really lucky, like it's a cross border, so if you're really lucky, apparently the Canadian Ranger will have tea for you at the pass. If you're lucky, some people don't find them there. But yeah, so that one, if we can reserve that one, that'd be a great one for summer. Other than that, I always like hiking and camping at Manning Park. I also really want to get down to Washington, because it's been a few years since I've done a bunch of hiking in Washington. So getting back to the Bellingham trails and the Baker trails and the North Cascades Highway, I would, Salmon Islands or whatever. Washington's got great hikes.
Lots of great hikes in Washington for sure.
You definitely could do another 105 great hikes in just Washington State.
Well, yeah. Well, Craig Romano's got those, right? You've had him on, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We have. So now, if I go out and I get this book, or you know what, even better, it's getting towards Christmas. I've got a geocaching friend or two that I think I gotta get a gift for. I'm going to get him one of these great books. how would somebody who I gift this book to be able to use it to plan a hike and have some of these great adventures?
Yeah, and it can be hard to explain to the younger folks among us now, but there is something about flipping through a book and coming across a hike you didn't look for, and seeing the picture and then reading about it, kind of in a narrative style, and reading a bit about the history, the culture, and the nature of the area. So yeah, there's something about that, and so it's a great way to peruse uh, hikes in the region. I mean, I get books for wherever I hike, so I love to start that way, and then sometimes then you go to the online apps maybe to check current conditions or something. But yeah, I like to start usually with the books and find hikes there. I love collecting books from different places I go to just to because you find out a lot of the backstory from the book. So
Makes sense. I've got a very dog-eared and marked up copy of 105 hikes, Stephen.
cool. I like to see that.
Right? Yeah. Then it gets used. Right? It's being used the
Mhm.
way it's intended.
Well,
Oh,
Stephen, you just mentioned using some online sites to get more information. What sites do you like and use?
Yeah, I mean, they all have their benefits and problems, but yeah, definitely, sometimes you can go to all trails and see what because someone will say if there's snow or whatnot. Um, yeah, I mean, there's been a few times though when I've loaded up a trail on all trails and it's like got a lot of problems with the track or the description.
Mhm.
But it's good for checking, is there snow right now? Is the
current
is the
conditions.
road closed right now?
Mhm.
Although sometimes people get what trail they're talking about wrong, and you get mistakes like that. Of course, the Washington Trails Association has a great
Mhm.
website with a lot of people posting observations, so that's great. Um, in BC, we have something called Bivouac. It's a website that people pay a small membership fee for, and people have really good uh, updates about trail conditions and road conditions. It's really good for say 4x4 conditions if you need it. But that's one, and yeah, those are the main ways. And of course,
Okay.
go to the parks websites because the parks websites
Mhm.
do have trail reports. I know like BC Parks does more. They seem to be doing more extensive trail reports than they used to, although sometimes they're a bit behind. But there's great info on those.
So great
Nice.
spec conditions. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, before we jump into our next question, Dormore wanted to say, my son and his girlfriend hike regularly. I gave them the 105 hikes book for Christmas last year, and they loved it.
Well, I
So
appreciate that, Dora Moore. That's fantastic. Thank you.
If only
there you go.
Christmas was approaching now for other people to use it as a
I
gift.
know.
What a good idea.
Wait a minute. I think
Oh.
Christmas is it coming soon?
It's just around the corner.
Like 12 days or less or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 11 days to start shopping.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So yeah, it does make a great Christmas gift.
Okay, that was it. You can go back now. Sorry to interrupt.
No, great. And great comments I'm seeing fly by in the chat as always. You talked about checking weather conditions, learning different aspects of the trails before you go out. Is there anything specific about geocaches? Do you think your books would be helpful for geocachers to plan a hike?
Yeah, I mean, there often are geocaches along these hikes, and most hikers aren't looking for them, and unless we find them by accident. Like
Yeah.
sometimes there'll be some that are get kind of put out in the open, or people have moved it not realizing it's geocache. So
Mm-hmm.
I find them more by accident than I do remembering to look for them. Um, but yeah, so there's a lot of geocaches around, and especially in the kids book, I think, because those trails are lower down and easier. Some of those hikes have a lot of geocaches around because there's just a lot of activity in those areas around like a lake or whatnot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Burke Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, good stuff. So of course, the big question everybody always wants to know when they've got an author on the show, are there any new books in the works or any that are coming out soon for publishing?
Well, yeah, there's nothing coming out for publishing now, but I am working on the second edition of 105 Hikes. So an update to this book. I mean, I've been working on it for a while. It's taken a while, but basically, so it'll probably be about a year and a half still away, but depending on publication schedule and whatnot. But so I'm working on the update, and I'd like to ideally change about a third of the trails. So so put like a third new trails that I haven't written about in any of the books, and swap out a third. So and then of course update the rest of the material. So yeah, that's the most interesting part to me is the checking out the new ones and writing about new ones. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do, and that's I've started doing some writing of the new hikes, and yeah, looking forward to do that mountain of work and getting it out there.
Now I'm really curious. How do you decide which hikes you're going to swap out?
Yeah, it's kind of going to be. I mean, I'm going to compare what I end up doing new wise, and it's kind of it'll depend on like regional balance. It'll be the quality of the hikes will make a difference. Some of the less interesting or shorter hikes might go from this book. Yeah, hikes that have had change in access or a problem with access, those will go.
Okay.
But yeah, in general, it'll probably be more looking to cut some of the hikes that aren't as good, maybe, and then put in new ones for people to try.
Well, it's been a few years, so I guess a lot has changed, eh? It's time to.
Yeah, I mean, on some trails nothing changes, and then some trails a lot changes.
Yeah. Well, like you said, especially like access, like sometimes all of a sudden now there's a gate, right?
Yeah.
Big gate there, but yeah.
Well, when you mentioned you were going to change out a third of the trails, I immediately came up with the new title for your book, 105 Trails with 35 new trails.
Well,
Um,
yeah, that would be cool, but I think the publisher would prefer to leave it at 105 total and keep the same title.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what?
I
I'll
would love
let
it to
them
be.
do it.
Yeah, I would love it to turn into, why don't we just call it 150 trails or something?
Yeah.
But yeah, then it would cost more.
That's right.
Everything costs more nowadays.
That's true. When you say, trails change, I thought, oh, I wonder, have you written the entire details for one trail and then before it goes to publication, that trail has closed and is no longer accessible, and now you have to take that off and write a different one? I'm just curious if that has happened.
There's been, so with I think with destination hikes, Deeks Lake up on the Sea to Sky Highway up near Lions Bay, that one was going to be in there, and then there was some mining activity and they closed the start of the trail, so that one I took out. But it'll go in the update because they worked out a bypass with the mining people and whatnot, and so that one will go into 105 Hike second edition. So yeah, stuff like that happens, and yeah, it's the worst is the annoying part too is when like the book comes out, everything's fine, but then that summer something will happen to some trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the tough part, right? Because a book is, to a degree, a snapshot in time, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, tough to make the decisions on which ones to include and which ones to exclude, for sure.
Yeah, and I actually really like, in a way, that books are a snapshot in time, because when you read these other guidebooks, like I read other people's guidebooks, and they really like you get a sense of history by reading them, because they tell you about the trails at that time, maybe a bit about the past too. And I can read books from this area from 40 years ago or so, and it's like, they had to take a train there before, to where we drive now, or you used to be able to drive halfway up the mountain and now you can't, and it's really interesting.
That is interesting. And that also showcases why there has to be a second or third edition.
Yeah.
Because things change all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some great questions coming in. This one comes from Keats. He says, I love the attention to Indigenous engagement in Stephen's books, recognizing First Nations history is paramount while on the path to reconciliation. So he says, thank you.
Well, thanks, Keats. Yeah, I mean, it feels like a responsibility to do when writing about land and trails, and all the hikes that we do are on Indigenous territories around here, and there's a history of those trails. A lot of those trails really just piggyback on Indigenous trails already, and because we like to go to such beautiful places, I mean, a lot of the most beautiful mountains and lakes that we go to are actually sacred to a local First Nation, and so it's important to, I think, when people know about that, maybe it'll help to, them to not be so careless with these areas, hopefully.
It's interesting you raise that, because not too long ago, some friends and we did a hike around Devil's Lake up past Mission, and noticed that they had put a brand new trail. Because I remember going to Devil's Lake a few years ago.
Right.
It was kind of a mess. People had not taken care of the site,
Yeah.
and folks have come in, really cleaned it up, put in a new trail around the lake, or fixed up the trail around the lake, but also put up a lot of signs about the First Nations history, but also other not just the First Nations history, but also explaining cultural and natural aspects of the area, which I thought were fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that's a cool project, because that's I think that's the city of Mission, kind of building some quality trails in
I
there.
didn't know that was the city doing that one.
Yeah, in the interpretive forest there.
Yeah.
And they've actually partnered with a few of the First Nations that are in that area to kind of work on that and do that in the right way. So yeah, it's great, because that area is a bit neglected and overrun by ATVs and whatnot. But yeah, there's some cool trails over there.
Very cool. Had a great question from GSM times 2, and he's curious if after your previous appearances on the podcast, have you created a geocaching account?
Well, I mean, I had one prior on the geocaching iPhone app.
Yeah.
But I'll have to admit, the last time I tried it this summer, I couldn't figure out how to log back in. So I think I may have lost my password and used an outdated email address.
Oh,
so
no.
I need to get back on that.
Oh, no.
Also, I remember when I started using it, so this would have been several years ago, right? Because, but it was there were a lot more features that were free on it.
Yes,
Yeah.
That is true.
It's a lot more freemium these days. Yeah. Fair enough.
Well, good. That was a question I wanted to ask as well. Is have you tried a little more, just out of curiosity?
Yeah.
It does. I hardly remember do it on local hikes. I remember it more when I'm in a different city.
Okay.
Because you'll just be out there in the city or some nature preserve, and then I should pull out that app and see if there's stuff around here.
Exactly. GSM times 2 also says geocaching also encourages me to hike new trails and never go back to a trail that I have geocached out. Right. So once you've done it, there's no reason to go back. Let's go look at something new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until somebody refreshes the caches on that.
Exactly.
That's very cool.
So good. Now, Stephen, you've mentioned you've got the 3 books, right? 105 hikes, destination hikes, and let me throw this up here. There you go. And the best hikes and nature walks with kids. How do we find your books?
Well, they're in a quality bookstore near you, and if you're in Bellingham, they should be at like Village Books. But yeah, they're on your large monster sites named after a river in Brazil. And you can go to my website 105hikes.com, and there's links there to to a lot of the websites, as well as local bookstores. But yeah, they're at most bookstores, especially on the BC side of the border. They're pretty easy to find in bookstores. In the US side, I've seen them at Village Books and some other bookstores in the US, but they're not always there.
So I would suggest, if you're looking to buy one, go into a local bookstore, ask for it, and say, why don't you have it? Well, and that's assuming they don't have it. Let's assume they do have it. You're going to pick it up. You're going to gift it away. It would take a pretty big stocking, but I think you could stuff this into a stocking.
Oh, yeah.
And local bookstores really are the best.
Yes.
They really have been so supportive of the book, and I've got to do like book signings and events at bookstores, and yeah, they really are they are great. And that's usually where I find the guidebooks that I buy, because often they'll have guidebooks at if you go to a local bookstore, like say Village Books in Bellingham, you're going to find all these guidebooks you're not going to find in Barnes and Nobles.
Right.
Yeah. And that's, so up here, I'm a big fan of Black Bond Books, who I know carries your books as well, Stephen. And I always try and get people to support those. Just Carlo picked up your Hikes with Kids at the BC Ferry Terminal gift shop. So there you go.
That's very cool. And among authors in BC, there's something really special about seeing your book on a BC ferry. Like it's totally a thing. It never gets old.
That would be super cool.
Yeah. So I'm not the only one. Like I've heard from a number of writers who say this, that like the first time you see your book on the ferry is like the best thing.
Then you've arrived.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Keith says, I think I got my 105 Hikes book at Kohl's.
Cool.
There you go.
Kohl's is still around, eh?
Yeah, there's a few. There's one out here in Langley, I know. Yeah. Kitty Quest got hers from a local independent bookstore, but she's seen them on the ferries. There you go. Awesome. So there you go. If you can't find it anywhere else, well, just take a ferry trip.
I've seen it on the ferry, I believe. Yeah.
That's awesome. Brian said he got his at Valhalla Pure Outfitters in Abbotsford. Yeah, another great.
Oh, great! Yeah,
great place to go look.
Fantastic. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's great to catch up. I can't wait to see your new work coming out, or even just to get the second edition, right? To see what trails have changed, what's even better than what you talked about on the first one. So, and listeners, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Caching in the Northwest.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always great to be here, and it's great to catch up with you three.
Great to have you here. Stephen, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, if they had hikes they wanted to maybe recommend that you consider for the second edition, or just pick your brain on anything, is how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, just go to 105hikes.com, and there's a million ways to contact me on there, and you can contact me. I'm always down to talk about hiking, and that's probably the best way. And there you go.
Awesome. There's the website right there for those who are listening or watching the live feed or the recorded feed. Very good. Hey, well, thank you very much, Stephen. It's been a pleasure chatting with you again. I hope the holidays treat you and your family well. And thank you. And good luck on that second edition. That's a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to go hike all 105 trails all over again
I
for
would
the second
I would
edition?
like to. I'm not sure that I'll be able to.
Okay.
The ones that haven't changed as much. I mean, the good thing is at least that I know a lot of hikers, and it'll be easy to get the information. But in general, yeah, the ones that have changed a lot, I definitely need to hike again, and yeah, hike as many of them as I can.
Nice.
Fantastic. All right. Well, as we wrap it up here, we want to once again take a moment to thank our corporate Denali level sponsors. That's Land Sharks, LANDSHARKZ, and Gold Country Geotourism. Land Sharks is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online. And remember, they're shipping those online orders daily. I mean, hey, they may even have Stephen's books there too. You should go and check it out.
Possibility.
And for absolutely amazing geocaching adventures, check out exploregoldcountry.com. And of course, we want to thank our faithful Denali level supporters. That is Land Sharks and Gold Country Geotourism, but it's also Team Squirrel, Groovy Owl, Cool Cow Cachers, and Cachly, the geocaching app. If you, dear listener, want to know more about supporting this here podcast, well, we encourage you to click that Patreon link way over there on the cachingnw.com website.
You're assuming they have a really wide monitor, don't you?
But yeah, like
Way over there.
2-inch monitor. Yeah.
Hey, we also want to thank somebody like Alarobrick.
And geocaches.
And Sergey Hove.
And the other side of the pond, Seebeck Tribe.
I'd like to thank Green Words.
Genies.
Subway Mark.
Wino Seattle.
LG 9000.
And of course you, Dak.
BC Rock Crawler.
J-Car.
Ari54321.
Just Carlo.
Team Noltex.
Boomer365.
M Nerf.
Trexer.
Wet Coaster.
Flagman.
Kid Vegas 19.
You Talks to Rocks.
Kitty Quest. Oh, wait, sorry.
What was that? I don't know that name.
I know. Thought it'd be different.
Okay.
Lively in the chat tonight and asking some great questions. GSM times 2.
How about Gas Station Tuna?
Peach of Washington.
Limax.
Logwork.
Nervous Energies.
Korsgat.
And Teus.
Just finding our way.
The Camp Clan.
The GeoNav Pro.
Hacker Duck.
Kev MacD.
Dora Moore.
MC3 Cats.
CRS 98.
Mountain Bike.
B Pendragon.
And Skyhawker.
So nice. Folks, thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your support helps keep the quality shows coming. Now, if you like the show, please click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website. If you didn't like the show, let us know what you want to talk about. But if you like the vibe, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and leave us a review. Because if you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're on a podcast, leave us a free, fast, fabulous, fantastic 5-star review. And of course, you can call in to 253-693-TFTC and leave a comment, ask a question, or help us find an amazing trail any time of the day or night. You can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Didn't I already say that? I felt like I just said that. But anyway, I'm going to keep going on. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and chat. This show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, Jay Kennedy, and Brian Lang. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2023 for the time being by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, we ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
the after show.
The after show. Hey, and Stephen put a great comment into the live chat there, asking. Well, first of all, yes, thanking everybody for the support, but asking what hikes have people been enjoying. He's always interested to hear about the trails. So, as we said before, if you've got some, as we go into the FTAS tonight, if you've got some you want to throw over to Stephen, just throw them in the chat there, or if you think of them after the show, or if you're listening to this podcast at any point in time, we've got got that contact info for Stephen to send him that.
Exactly.
Deets. Good
Exactly. You know, I've done some great hikes, but I can't tell you what the name of the trails were.
That's you got to go back to the geocaching map and go. Okay,
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yep. It was along Highway 20
Yeah.
here in Washington. Yeah.
What's up, man?
Well, Starcacher has some podcast baking. I'm about to pull out of the oven of a Marie Callender cherry crunch pie. Debating to eat the slices plain with whipped cream or vanilla ice cream. And
Why
I
not
think
both?
he's just decided vanilla ice cream and whipped cream.
There you go.
So
I was gonna say, if your cherries are crunchy, that's not necessarily good, is it? Are they supposed to be?
I don't know these things.
Keats has one here for you, Stephen. Mount Roar. Hopefully this will happen this summer. Looking forward to getting some drone shots. I think that's up in the Gold Country area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's up in the Sea to Sky and between Pemberton and Lillooet, and
Okay.
that's one of my favorites. Keats, yeah, that's in the first book, and I love that one. Just beautiful. It's I see in the comments there. It's it's on like the top of the ridge. I guess the summit is on the edge. I think of Duffy Lake Provincial Park, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Okay, I
But
can picture where that is
but
then.
pretty much all of the hike is not. Otherwise, is not in the park. But yeah, just beautiful, beautiful lake, beautiful mountain, long day, flowers, everything. Yeah, just great hike.
Nice.
Nice.
Another one there for you. Mount Beautiful near Bunsen Lake.
Yeah, Mount Beautiful. That's an interesting one. Not as beautiful as it sounds, but yeah, definitely it's like more of a worth doing because more of the challenge of the long day out there. I did part of that one recently. It was nice to be back in that area. I went up Eagle Ridge and went to a couple of the viewpoints. But yeah, that is a long one, and the name is definitely like the view from the top is a letdown compared to the name. But still, it's every hike's worth doing once, right? At least. So
Mhm.
There you go. We've got it. Yeah. The hike to Monte Cristo in Washington State. Is that off Highway 20? I think. I'm trying to remember where
I
that
can't
was.
remember. Monte Cristo is a ghost town here in Washington. So
yeah, I don't know that one. Sounds like I'll have to look
That's
that
a
up.
great hike in Washington State. Definitely. Keith's saying any of the hikes on Mount Seymour are underrated. Yeah, I would agree. The only thing is some of them are pretty popular. So
Yeah, actually, Craig Romano was up here in I think in September or so,
okay,
and we did Mount Seymour together. It was nice to hook up with him and do a hike. And
neat.
yeah, Seymour. It'd been a couple of years since I'd done Seymour, and yeah, Seymour's always it really is wonderful. You get three summits on the way, and you start up really high, um, and we went on a weekday. So Craig was shocked at how unbusy it was. It was pretty great actually. There's hardly anybody there, and it was perfect weather.
Nice.
nice. Winos wants to know: is there a book of 105 paddles?
Oh
Like
well,
full
I'd have
starts
to
of
learn.
lighthouse. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a whole different one.
yeah, completely different skill. I'm more of a hiking specialist, or I don't
Yeah,
really do.
exactly. Exactly.
I've been doing some canoeing the last couple of years, but it's yeah. You think a book of 105 hikes takes me a long time. A book of 105 paddles would take me a decade.
That's hilarious. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, lots of great. Well, we got everybody jumping in. You asked just the right question, Stephen, at the end of the show there.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, Smithers too. Yeah, I would love to hike near Smithers.
Yeah,
There it is. Yep.
there's yeah, up all up in that area. There's some amazing hikes. Definitely, some great parts of BC. South Kaibob Bright Angel. I don't know where that is. I'll have to ask ask the author to give a little bit more detail on that. Kyle's throwing out unnecessary mountain. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a heck of a hike. Up
Yeah,
to that
that's a heck of a hike. Yeah.
Is it an unnecessary hike?
It feels like it. Yep.
Yeah, it can feel
The
like
views
it.
are insane though. Like
Yeah.
you want to
Mm.
talk about like super cool views. Oh, okay. So the South Kaibab Bright Angel is Grand Canyon. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you've got Rainbow Range.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that's difficult for me to say.
the alliteration will get you in the chill coat. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kitty Quest says Jocelyn Peak, Gowland Todd area on the island. Yes. Gowland Todd Park has some great hikes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joslin Peak is one of my favorite Vancouver Island hikes for sure. I love that one. It's such a beautiful hike.
Nice. There you go. Yeah, some great stuff. Hey, since we're in the FATAS section of the show, I also want to throw out for anybody who's still listening to keep your eye on the podcast and on our social medias, because we are working on a new contest promotion. We've got an organization that is excited to work with us and offer up some pretty cool prizes. So, stay tuned, keep watching. There's going to be some cool stuff coming. So just plug that a little bit there, little teaser.
There you go. Love it.
Awesome.
Hell, Brian's trying to figure out what it is, a contest or is it a coin test?
I guess you'll have to wait and see.
Well, I was going to say no, it's not. And just to make it even more interesting. Oh, now what could it be?
What could it be?
One might be nervous about it, but don't feel that way.
Yeah, you can.
Folks, thank you so much for joining us. And until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.